My name's Alyssa Arnold, and I became a CPC or Certified Peer Counselor in 2014. And I currently am a Reiki Master Teacher. I am a lay ordained Zen Buddhist practitioner, and I'm also currently in a certification program for interfaith and interspiritual guidance. So all this is kind of inspired by my journey. I began my dive into the mental health world at a very, very young age. And I think my mom tells me my suicidal ideations began at like 4 years old. And life was very trying, but I was also like a really, really happy, bubbly kid. And then I'd go home into my room and I'd cry and I'd hide and I couldn't make sense at all of this world. And it continued that way. And I was very different even than my 3 other siblings and all my friends. I didn't like going to school. I liked playing with a couple friends, and that was it. And as I grew up, it continued kind of the same way. I had this like bubbly, somewhat bubbly personality outside of the house. And then I'd come home and I just would be in a world of darkness that I couldn't make sense of. By the time I got to high school, I was given a laundry list of diagnoses and put on quite a few pharmaceutical medications. And so I definitely was living all of the stigmas that I was given and was kind of thought that's just how life was. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I've totally transformed the stories that I'm telling in my own head. And I hope to encourage more of the stigma smashing and breaking out of the boxes of what we were told mental health or mental illness is, and opening to new possibilities. So I hope together we can do that, and we have a few different things we'll talk about. So here's a quote from Brené Brown. Owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we will ever do. And I totally, totally agree with this. It's not easy. And I think probably a lot of you've experienced how many things are wrong with the story you've been living. So in the workshop today, what we're going to talk about is the power of our beliefs and the perspectives we have and how they influence our everyday lives. We're going to look at kind of a compare and contrast of the Western framework of mental health, mental illness versus other cultural perspectives from everywhere in the world. And then we're going to look at the hero or the heroine's journey. And we're going to talk about how that can empower our own recovery stories and those of the peers that we serve. So first, we're going to start with talking about the power of perspective. So if you don't mind, go ahead and in the chat box, I want to hear, let me get my little chat box up again. I want you to go ahead and tell me when I get it shared again. Can we see the images again? Okay, just get a thumbs up if it's, okay. What do you, actually go ahead and unmute yourselves. What is the first thing you see when this picture comes up?
A duck.
A duck.
A rabbit.
Awesome. Awesome.
I also see a rabbit.
Okay.
Oh, I see the rabbit now. I totally saw a duck, but I see both.
Perfect. Well, those are 2 of the most common answers, but I always usually get another like, oh, I see the lake but yeah, so we can see there's a duck or a rabbit depending on how we're looking at it. We're gonna take a peek at this.
What's your perspective?
So we've got Tom and Sue here, and Tom's standing on one side, Sue's standing on the other side of this symbol drawn on the ground. From where Tom's at, he sees a 6, and where Sue's at, she sees a 9. Now, if they changed places or maybe went somewhere else, you know, that they would totally change what they're saying. And what I'm kind of just wanting to get at is we've got these ideas that we're given a lot of times, or that we develop through our life history, that become our beliefs and our perspectives. And a lot of times we think they're like really, really solid, like this is the way the world is. And I'm sure you guys throughout your journeys have come across some of these things that you've said, oh, wait, it's not, the world's not how I thought it was. This isn't how my parents told me or how the mental health system told me it was. And you kind of check it.
My angels. Monica had said, what is your favorite cookie? To me and Dee. What is your favorite cookie? We'll go to local cookie shop.
And so with these perspectives, we can see that they're not always as solid as we think they are. So when we open our minds to looking through somebody else's eyes or another lens, it kind of opens us to a whole new world. So there's a lot of things that influence our perspectives and our beliefs, like our geographic location, our gender, our religious background, our family and ancestral history, the friends we grow up with, the cultures we're a part of, race, all of these different things influence the way we see the world. And none of it's really inherently, I mean, there definitely are perspectives that are not strong for us, but we have the ability to change them and adapt them at any time. But it takes opening up to kind of looking through somebody else's eyes. So now I'm going to share a quick video with you on the power of perspective.
I want to talk to you for a moment about perspective, the way you see things. How you see things in life is pretty important. Everybody sees things in life a different way. Life has a bunch of challenges and things that can come against you. The old saying is half empty, half full. It's a powerful perspective to have. See, when life tears you up, breaks you down, you can have a perspective. You can either say, this is how I'm always going to be. This is how life's always going to end up for me. I'll never overcome this. I'll never defeat this. I'll never be able to come back from this devastating moment. It's all about perspective, though. Because if you have the right perspective and see life half full, that's a powerful way to see the world. Kind of reminds me of Beethoven. When he began to lose his hearing, he could have seen life as half empty. He could have seen life as unfair. But Beethoven didn't give up on his dream. He had the half full mentality. So what he did was he sawed the legs off of his piano and he laid his ear to the ground and continued composing music just off the vibrations he felt against his ear. Perspective. It's a powerful thing. Perspective reminds me of Helen Keller. She was born deaf and blind. She could have said, it's unfair. I'll never overcome this. I'll never be stronger. I'll never be able to be great. But she had the right perspective, the half full perspective. And she continued to go after her dreams. She didn't let life break her. She didn't let life tear her down. Because you have the right perspective, if you have the right perspective, I believe you can see impossible things. If you have the right perspective, you can see amazing things. Make sure you keep the right perspective.
All righty. So we can see that it's easy. I know definitely at times in my life, some of these perspectives and beliefs that I was given really filtered the lenses that I was seeing the world through. And We can have really empowering perspectives and beliefs, and we can have really disempowering perspectives and beliefs. And I'm also going to say it's not always easy to let go of or expand the perspectives or beliefs that we do have. It takes a lot of work sometimes, and sometimes we're not really ready to do that. But these are a definition of both perspective and belief. So a belief is a state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing. And one thing I want to say here in this definition, which comes from Webster's dictionary, is see this word habit? That's really, really important, because our brains are these like super complex, live wired organisms that have this ability to continue growing and changing throughout our whole lifespan, which this is kind of a newer perspective in science. Like, I remember like when I first got into the mental health world, it was like, this is the brain you were born with. Sorry, you kind of got a crappy hand dealt to you, but that's what you got. And that's how it's going to be forever. And now we know that's not true. And so this word habit is our brain tends to be habitual. It makes things process faster, and it can be really good for functioning and getting things done, but it also can get us stuck in these like patterns that aren't always the most empowering or beneficial for our lives. And then a perspective is a mental view or prospect, so a point of view. So how are these perspectives and beliefs formed? We talked about the things that influence them. So first of all, we develop our beliefs and perspectives through our 5 senses. So anything we hear, smell, taste, touch, see, all of this is constantly influencing our view of the world. And adverse childhood experiences or just adverse experiences in life and traumas definitely can help or can influence our beliefs in less than beneficial ways, because it builds these fears and this distrust in the world. We can also develop these through hearsay, so any secondhand information. So that could be something, and yes, Mama, it is neuroplasticity, and the sciences with that are so transformational, and it's just been a game changer, I think, in the mental health world, getting to hear this word and talk about it more. So hearsay, secondhand information, anything that somebody tells us, anything that we read, any information that we're taking out from the outside world is kind of hearsay. So we're getting it from another source. Then inference. And we base this on evidence and reasoning. So something maybe we heard or we learned, and then we take and make kind of our own reasoning with that. Does that make sense to me? So like if somebody tells me yellow and blue make green, I say, okay, yellow and blue make green. But then when I take it and I put yellow and blue together and I see that it turns out to the green color, then okay, that sounds like a belief that I will take on. Then we also have intuition, which is these unexplainable feelings or these senses of knowing. And I think it could maybe even be a little bit of all of our 5 senses engaging beyond like our conscious mind. So they kind of just come into play and give us this sense of knowing. I do believe there will be a PDF given out, and I will make sure to check with Lauren and make sure that that's accessible for all of you guys as well. All right, and then another important thing to remember about our beliefs and perspectives is that we have these really strong emotional attachments to them. So I think you've probably, maybe even by just a raise of hands, how many people can think of a time where you've either witnessed somebody or been a part of a debate where 2 people have these very different perspectives, and it created an argument, like it got out of hand really quickly. And that tends to be based on our emotional attachment. Yeah, it's like, whoa, how did that get fired up so fast? And it's because we have these emotional attachments to it. And from a neurophysiological standpoint, it makes sense. Evolutionary, like we take these beliefs on as a part of our personhood. So this is like, my belief is a part of me. And when that gets challenged, they're not really challenging a belief, they're challenging me as a person. And when I get challenged as a person, my brain's like, danger, danger, danger. So this is how we have such big reactions, and other people can have such big reactions to them. And this is why when we get so locked in our beliefs, it can cause us like this distress to pop up at like really unusual times. Think like politics and religion, or just like mental health discussions, just something that just rubs you the wrong way. And you're like, why did I get so fired up about that? All right. So I want everyone just to take a minute and think about your current beliefs, stigmas, perspectives that are surrounding mental health, mental illness, recovery here in the Western world. Anything maybe you yourself experienced through the mental health system. You hear the stigmas that your peers that you assist have faced, or things you've seen on TV or movies, anything that's kind of come up through your time with this. And then while we're sitting with that, I'll go ahead and welcome you either in the chat box, or feel free to unmute yourself. And I just want to hear some of those things, some of those beliefs and perspectives that we've either been given or we've experienced or heard.
Hi, this is Mindy. I'm from Olympia. One perspective or belief I was taught as a child during, religious services is that if I am gay, I'm going to go to hell. So there you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a big one. I think generationally, that was one I remember very, very, very much. And I see in the chat box, I see weakness. Most definitely, I have heard that one. Don't say anything about your depression, anxiety. Oh my gosh, yes, that's like a really big one for me. I think of like being in social circles, and it was just like, don't bring that discussion topic here. That's not welcome here. That we are damaged, that cry a lot, daddy issues, family issues, yeah. So in a lot of these, they're like really disempowering, or that you're broken, you're ashamed of your past, lived hard. One thing I see Wanda saying, one thing I've noticed when you talk about your mental health condition, they instantly think I'm always ill. Truth be told, most days I'm pretty capable and of full-time work. Oh my gosh, yes. That is so true. Like I think of like the movie presentations of somebody with mental illness. It's like, they don't portray it very well most of the time. Be seen, not heard. Mental illness is a choice or the consequence of negative mindset. Mind over matter. Anxiety is made up. Mental illness. Yeah. Most definitely. Those are great shares. Thank you so much, you guys. Okay, so in this, we're just comparing Western framework versus other worldly perspectives of mental illness. And I'm not saying either is right, wrong, or indifferent. I actually, in my opinion, if we kind of bridge the two worlds, I think we're going to have a lot more success. And because everybody's journey is so vastly different, and there's always another perspective to what we have. So here in the West, this is kind of what I grew up with, is either you've got this genetic disorder that you were born with because somebody in your family had this disorder and now you have it. Some sort of neurochemical imbalance. There's the chemicals in your brain are not where they should be, that they're causing these imbalances. A neurophysiological disorder. So something maybe environmentally triggered, or maybe unknown reasons for it being triggered, or maybe an injury, like a traumatic brain injury. We have our mood and personality disorders that are often due to adverse or traumatic life experiences. And as I grew up in the mental health world, the two main types of intervention were pharmaceutical medications, which there was just a lot of trial and error with that, and talk therapy. So I'd go see a therapist and I'd take a pill and cross my fingers and hope for the best. And then other world perspectives on mental illness, there's, and these come from different cultures throughout the world. So we have these spiritual emergencies or transpersonal crises. We have an initiatory shamanic experience, a psychological reintegration. So that's just like the body calling out for some sort of vital inner balance to be restored. Awakening symptoms or kundalini, some sort of mystical, spiritual, religious revelation or communication, a supernatural possession or evil curse, a psychic opening, some sort of response due to like karma. So now with these perspectives, they are these ideas. And I'm going to talk a little bit too about the movie that's going to be screened tonight, Crazy Wise. He's bringing, Phil Borges is bringing that to us to view. And from this, he's looking at the perspectives from other cultural perspectives throughout the world. And one of the main ones is, I think it talks a lot in even the trailer is about like these, in these indigenous cultures where somebody started to have these maybe hearing voices or really kind of mood swings that were not explained or seeing things. And the way they would deal with it in other cultures was to not think it was like abnormal, but that it was some sort of part of the human experience that had its own very, very, very particular place in the culture, and it served a purpose. It had reason. And so what they're kind of just asking and just bringing this other viewpoint in. And now John Weir Perry, he was a psychiatrist, and he had a facility here in the Western world. I think it was maybe in California, and he attempted at that facility to use other treatments other than pharmaceuticals or pharmaceuticals alone. So he brought in other modalities for helping in the recovery process. And this is a quote he had on some of these experiences that people were going through. These experiences are a dramatic reordering of the person's psyche from a distorted state to a more ordered one. To me, this is like cleaning a messy house. Sometimes it needs to get messier in order to sort everything out. When I first read this quote, it was just like, bam. I think about those days and like when we're here talking about these beliefs and perspectives and stigmas that have been placed upon us in our journeys. Wow, that's a lot to like hold, and maybe some of it needs to be unlearned. So like when we think about cleaning our house, like spring cleaning or cleaning your room, it's like sometimes you pull everything out, look at what do I have, and then decide what you want to stay and what you want to go. And I think that could be really, really applicable to our beliefs and our perspectives and our journeys. So, it doesn't always, I think that one thing, the word that comes to me is like, it's bad when everything's falling apart. And oh boy, does it feel bad. But if I can get a little space from it, and I can look back now at certain parts of my journey that I thought I wouldn't have survived, I was like, whoa, they served such a purpose. And it really was a turning point in my life. So go ahead and either unmute yourself or in the chat, but can anyone else think of a belief that you've had that you could maybe revisit or you have already revisited and viewed it from another perspective? And it could be something even like not a big deal, like any type of thing that you've had like one of those realization moments with.
Hi, it's Mandy.
Hi, Mandy.
Hi, so I was born with cerebral palsy,
and they used to say, I am cerebral palsy. And so I had to learn how to realize that I'm not my disability. And turn it in. And now I work for a disability agency, actually, independent living agency. And I say, I'm someone living with a disability. So it's shifted.
Most definitely. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really big and important one. And we're changing the language that we use as peers in hopes that we can change it in the outer world. And that's so important because we are not defined by this. We are so much more than any of these diagnoses. And how freeing that feels. Expansive. I agree with you. I want to know everybody's story. That's one of the best parts about being at Pathways, is getting to talk to peers and just hear these stories that are just like mind-blowing and so inspiring, so inspiring. So we are going to you have the opportunity to watch this movie tonight, and this is just a small clip. If you get the chance and have the time and haven't seen the movie Crazy Wise, I'd recommend it. And this is a very short clip.
It's a mythology to think that there's the normal and then there's the abnormal.
The average recovery rate in the Western world, with all our sophisticated diagnoses and medications and highly paid experts, is about 1/3. The recovery rate in the developing world is about 2/3.
Where does somebody who's in this delicate state, you know, they're in a process, they're sent to prison, they're sent to jail, they're sent to a psychiatric ward, or they're chemically incarcerated, or they're homeless.
In the United States, we've come to believe in the chemical imbalance theory of mental disorder.
These medicines are very, very powerful in helping, but they can be very powerful in harming.
I mean, like the disclaimer on these pills, that's typically the first side effect is suicidal thoughts. And that's what the doctor is giving you to feel better. I mean, it's crazy.
We live in a psychotic society. We do. And what is meant by psychotic? Out of touch with reality.
How mental illness is constructed in different places in the world is very, very different.
Only in the Western world have we developed this bizarre idea that hearing voices and having strange ideas has no meaning at all.
My human rights work has taken me to indigenous and tribal cultures around the world. Often I met individuals who would go into a trance-like state to serve as a healer or visionary for their community. These are the people we call shaman. And I was surprised to learn that many were identified in their youth by having what we would call a psychotic break. Hearing voices, having visions, feeling terrified. I was struck by how differently these symptoms were looked at in our culture.
We have lost touch in our medical system from some of the simple needs that people have for connection, the simple needs that people have for community. Maybe it's not just a broken brain. Maybe it's not just an illness. Maybe this is not just something to hide and be ashamed of. Maybe it's something to explore and learn from.
All righty. So with this, one thing I take away when I watch this clip is they're talking about here in the West, we have like a recovery rate of 1/3. And in these other cultures, there's 2/3. So I just like, in my brain, I'm like, what if we combined the wisdom of both of these perspectives and opened that? So people had choices and options and more variety for exploring. That it wasn't like, I know in my journey when the medication didn't work, and I tried that for 2 decades, boy, talk about feeling like completely hopeless. And so it's like, not everybody in these other cultures is going to turn out to be a shaman, and how much could they benefit from what we know here in the West? And so that's my hope with this, is that we see that there are these other perspectives. And what would it be like if we lived in a world where all of these options were present to us and available, and we could combine the resources and create a new way in this mental health world? So I also just love this quote. A schizophrenic is drowning in the same waters in which the mystic swims with delight. And this to me was just really profound because, as I said earlier, I'm currently studying interfaith and interspiritual work. And a lot of these mystical experiences, I mean, from Jesus, Buddha, all over the world, there's these mystics that they're hearing voices or seeing visions, but the perspective they have on it is completely different. It's that they're talking to some sort of higher self, higher power, a God, the universe, whatever they title it, whatever they call it. But these experiences aren't, they're given opportunities to make something of it that isn't stigmatizing or terrifying. Even though I think that if you read stories, there would be some of these leaders who had very experiences that were very, that could be nerve-wracking or scary at times, especially as you're learning to deal with this. Like, and if it starts happening when they're young, it can be very disorienting. And when you have an elder or somebody, a mentor that's kind of helping you through this and not stigmatizing it, how vastly different it looks. Okay, so how do we apply all of this to our recovery stories? So now I'm going to share a little bit more about myself. Shared a little in the beginning, but all of these pictures are me from anywhere from 6 to 10 years ago. And as I said, I began my mental health journey. I don't remember a time that I didn't have some of these issues going on. And these are the stories I told myself up until the last probably 5 or 6 years. So I was a mentally ill person, and that's just how it was going to be for the rest of my life. There was no hope for healing or recovery. Recovery wasn't even a word we used in the mental health world, even 10 years ago. I was a burden to my family, my friends, and society. I was broken beyond fixing. I was incapable of having fulfilling life, career, relationships. I was an outcast, a black sheep, a weirdo, the crazy girl. I just didn't fit here. Fast forward to today. These are the stories I tell in my head. I'm a strong, adaptable, always growing and transforming person. My whole journey has meaning and purpose. I find fulfillment through sharing with and aiding others in their own recovery and healing journeys. I'm an artist and a nature enthusiast. I'm an adventurer, optimist, lover of life, and believer of mysticism and magic. And looking back now, I see my path as a transformational heroine's journey. I'll talk a little bit about what that is. Maybe we have or maybe we haven't heard of the term hero or heroine's journey, but Joseph Campbell wrote a book and talked about the hero's journey. And he had studied heroes throughout all culture, all over the world, and witnessed kind of this framework that was the hero's story. And it can be seen in movies and in books. You've definitely
my bra was so. I didn't even barely do shit.
Definitely seen this format somewhere in your life. And the difference I hear, the hero's journey is very outward. So you're out there battling the demons and monsters on the outside. And then the heroine's journey, they sometimes describe as the inner journey. So this battling these monsters and these beliefs and perspectives inside. So it's a deep, deep dive inward. I tend to use them however I feel comfortable, like whatever I want to call it for me, and whatever you want to call it for you. But these are these two ideas, and they really do follow the same framework. So in this one, we're going to talk more about the heroine or this inward journey, but you can call it whatever you would like to call it. And all of our journeys, again, are completely unique and vast, and they totally have purpose and meaning. And I do believe all of our stories are here to inspire others to find and build their stories. So kind of the framework for these journeys is you start out with a calling So that calling usually comes because you're feeling stuck. You're in a wasteland, and the wasteland's like the icky, sticky, mucky, yucky, where you know things could be different, could be better, and you just feel stuck in the mud, in the grime. And so that's kind of your initial call. And then we usually have like this refusal of the call, I can't do anything better. I'm not capable. I don't deserve anything better. We don't know what to do with that. That's just like the avoidance of the call or the refusal to the call. But eventually we kind of get to this place where it pushes you over the edge and you're leaving the ordinary life, your ordinary world, and diving into something more. And again, we're talking about this as an inner dive. So when we leave this ordinary world, we're starting to open up to new possibility spaces. And we usually here we're going to meet with helpers and allies. So maybe somebody new comes into our life and gives us a little seed of information that kind of changes our perspective. But also in this initiatory experience, we are going to face trials and tests and tribulations. We are going to battle with the darkness in ways that oftentimes I think it feels like we won't be able to survive. They may break us. But somehow when we keep moving, we begin to have these revelations and broaden perspectives, and we grow into self-awareness and self-discovery, and we learn new things about ourselves and about the world. And this is where we're integrating and transforming. And all of this takes such bravery and courage. I think it takes a lot of trust and determination as well. So with that, as we kind of battle through and continue through the journey and start growing and changing and integrating these new ideas and concepts, then we come out and we return. We have this rebirth, this emergence of a new empowered self, the self that is like, who is that? It almost isn't recognizable. And you return home. And the coolest part about this is we're returning home and we're bringing back with us a treasure or a gift or an elixir. And for every hero or heroine's journey, it's totally different. It's going to look different for all of us. I feel like one of the greatest elixirs or treasures that we as peers bring back is this gift of wanting to aid others on their journeys, encouraging them to grow and transform and keep going, like bringing back this gift of hope. So that's something you are all already offering. And a quick side note on this hero and heroine's journey is that it's not necessarily a linear process. We can revisit different stages of the journey. We can even be called to do the whole journey again and again and again. And each call is another, it's kind of life saying, hey, let's grow and expand into something more. So I just kind of have this slide here as a quick breakdown of kind of what it looks like. And I'm going to quickly walk through a little bit of my experience on my mental health journey of each of these steps. So I definitely will say that the calling, that mucky, yucky part was a really, really long part of my life. I must have refused the call for a long, long time because I feel like I was stuck there for decades. And I didn't think or believe that there could be anything different. That was the world as it was. And I lived in that box. I had multiple hospitalizations throughout the years and several suicide attempts. And after my last suicide attempt, I'd kind of just given up on life. I moved back in with my parents and retired to the basement and just kind of hid down there for close to 2 years. Stopped socializing at all. Really, really gave up. It was one of the darkest times of my life, and there was absolutely no hope. And having had not been successful at suicide, I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't even leave here. I can't even get out. So I sat in that for a really long time. And it wasn't until I kind of connected with a friend who I went and visited. And through her, I met this other lady who I would say this is when I began leaving this ordinary world. First, I'm sorry, I forgot to say that I had decided at that point when I was in the basement, I was still on my medications, which I had been doing as prescribed for close to 2 decades, and continuing to do therapy, but just really not getting any better. And at that point, I had I don't even remember where it came from, but I had some curiosity about what else is out there. Is there anything else out there? I think that wasteland, it pushes you to that question, is there has to be something else. And so I remember talking to my therapist and saying, at this point, maybe I'd like to try coming off my medications just so I can discern what is side effects of the medication and what is actually the symptoms of these laundry list of disorders, because I had no idea at that point. It had been so long being on medication. So I had made that decision and was slowly starting to wean off of medications. And then I go to this wedding and I meet the lady who's officiating the wedding. And she's this 75-year-old woman who is like nothing I've ever met before. She's doing energy work and talking to spirits out in the gardens, and just the spryest, most youthful, loving person I'd ever met, seeing things that I had no idea how she saw or knew. And I remember just kind of being like, what is this? And now I feel like she was one of my magical helpers. Because what that really offered was like a new perspective. So somebody came into my life and shook things up, like, hey, maybe the way you see things isn't all there is. So then I continued to dive down this rabbit hole of what else is out there. I was looking into meditation. I was looking into changing my diet. I was trying to be out in nature more. I was connecting with new friends. I was just watching videos on YouTube. I was trying to take in anything and everything I could. I'd come to my Buddhist practice and started diving pretty deep into my spirituality, which is always evolving and changing, and I don't really have any labels for that. And then in that process, I just started to find this sense of empowerment and this sense of rewriting my story. Like, I didn't want to just define myself as the sick person I was told I was, the sick person my family had come to believe I was going to be forever. And so I started changing it and changing these words that I used, and changing my future talk, and actually even changing the way I talked about the past. And then I came back, and now these gifts that I hope to bring back are sharing and connecting with other people, and just hearing other people's stories and starting to understand more about my own story, but also hearing like more about this mental health world and all these adversities people are facing, and not just facing, but surviving and becoming some of the most incredible human beings I have ever met. The most empowering people and individuals that I think our society has. Like, this is not for no reason. And when we can come together, I really think it's going to be powerful. It's unstoppable. Just watching the peer movement has been life-changing. So go ahead and, again, either in your chat box or out loud, can anyone think of an experience that maybe felt like being in a wasteland, that muck yuck, that actually called you to rise up or grow, something that changed you? When you faced it, it probably didn't feel like you were going to survive it. Getting fired, becoming homeless, being homeless, my mother's relapse, homelessness. Yes. Thank you all for being so vulnerable and sharing these moments too. Getting laid off, divorce. Yeah. Would I finish my master's degree? Yeah. Overcoming an illness, getting hospitalized, surviving loved ones' deaths, addiction, and being spiritually bankrupt. I love that term. A car accident, being alone. Whew, that hits hard for me. I am in the muck right now. Coming to this conference was giving me a little motivation. I love to hear that, and I'm so glad you are here connecting with peers. This has been one of the biggest transformations on my journey to this pure pathways, this pure movement. We have abuse and we have severe, yes, domestic violences, waking up in a hospital after an attempt, surviving, being separated from my children. Wow. And I just want everyone to just hold for a minute all these things that we're sharing, like this, the heaviness of this muck and yuck. I mean, I think if we put ourselves in any one of these other positions, we can imagine like, yeah, I'm probably not going to get over this. COVID-19, thank you. Yes. Acknowledging my alcoholism. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. All right. So I want everyone to go ahead and just for a moment, watch the screen, and I'm going to read the words to you so don't have to keep up. We're going to watch just a little, this is kind of a brief meditation moment, just give ourselves a relax from all the heaviness of that wasteland. It's like we're holding it, but we're going to open it into this spaciousness. And just being with all those hearts that have survived those unthinkable things in life. There's just you and the road every day. It tests you. It tires you. It uplifts you. You want to stop often, but it calls you. You dig deeper than you ever thought you could and go on because you must. The journey calls you. It's a kind of love. You are the journey. The journey is the road. All righty. So what I want to do now is I'm going to see, Leveda, are you feeling comfortable to, and I will also, so everybody knows all the resources for the videos and everything, I do have a reference page at the very end, and I will make sure that you have access to the slideshows as well. Leveda, are you feeling comfortable to do the breakout rooms?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'd like to do now, and I want people to have choices and options. So if you don't want to do this, go ahead and in your window, maybe raise, or go ahead and in the participant, just kind of raise your hand so we know. And if you accidentally get sent into a room, you have the choice to not accept that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna break out into groups of 2. So how many participants do we have? 40, so 20 rooms if we could, Leveda. And actually, assuming we don't have people who want to sit out. But what we're going to do is I want you to go ahead and write a piece of your story, just a piece, and share it with each other with these new perspectives. And I counted myself, so we probably have less rooms. And if we need a room of 3, that's fine too. All righty. So now, can I just get a little raise of hand in the window even if you were not wanting to be in a room, so you're where you want to be? Is that correct? Okay, so I do have a little video that I'm just going to play for you guys that's a little more explanation on the hero or heroine's journey. And so I'm going to go ahead and play that for us. And Leveda, I didn't tell you how long on the time. So what I was thinking is probably, let's give them like 6 minutes if we could.
Okay, sounds good. I'm not sure how to set the time, but I'm
okay. Do you have a button then to end it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just let you know. I'll try to keep a track of the time, and then we'll do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. And I'm going to get this other video playing for those of you that are still in here. Okay.
Oh, hey guys. Thought Monkey here. Sorry about that. I just got done watching one of my favorite movies, Star Wars, Episode 3. While watching it, I couldn't help but be drawn into the movie, especially into Luke Skywalker's story. It reminded me a lot of many heroic stories that I've heard before. That's because his journey in Star Wars has been modeled after the same heroic journey that humans have been recounting for thousands of years. This is what some call the hero's journey. Others call this the monomyth. The idea of the hero's journey was first brought to light by Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. This heroic journey is described by Campbell as when a hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. This common journey can be seen in the stories told of the Buddha, along with Christ and Moses. The flow of the hero's journey is broken up into three main parts: the departure, initiation, and return. In the hero's departure, an ordinary person is living a normal life when all of a sudden the hero receives a call to adventure, who, reluctant at first, is aided by a mentor figure who heads out on a mystical adventure. In Harry Potter, this can be seen when Harry is first contacted by Hagrid and initially states, "I can't be a wizard, I'm just Harry." With the help of Hagrid, Harry is eventually initiated into the world of wizardry, which leads us to our next stage, the initiation. Initiation refers to the hero entering his or her new world, where she or he faces new dangers, tasks, and challenges. The hero may be alone or have companions that help. At this time, the hero faces many setbacks and at times death. Eventually, the hero survives and earns some kind of reward for accomplishing his or her goal. In another well-known movie, Shrek enters the initiation phase when he and his companion Donkey embark on his quest to rescue Princess Fiona. Shrek faces some extreme challenges, such as rescuing Donkey from the lake of lava and rescuing Fiona from a dragon. When Shrek hands over Fiona, he gets his reward when the king gives him his deed to his swan. The last phase of the hero's journey is the return. At this stage, the hero returns to his or her world with the reward that he or she was given. The hero at this point has been transformed by the adventure and gains wisdom and spiritual power over both his or her original world and the mystical world that she or he was initiated into. In The Lion King, this is represented when Simba returns to his land to fight Scar. When Scar is insulted by Sarabi, Scar strikes her. Simba then steps forward to defend her and accepts responsibility for his father's death, even though it was an accident. Eventually, Simba defeats Scar and he sheds the guilt of his father's death. After Scar's death, life returns to Pride Rock and Simba becomes king alongside Nala, his new queen. The hero's journey can be found anywhere where stories are. Campbell would even argue that the hero's journey is inside of you and me, that it is a human element hardwired deep into our consciousness.
Okay, no worries, and that's okay if there's more than two. Okay. Okay, welcome back. And thank you all for understanding these technical issues that are arising. I am familiarizing myself with this, and I am so grateful Laveda is here helping me with this. And we will keep working on that, but it's a great practice for us all, having patience with ourselves and with technology. I think that's a big one I struggle with. But welcome back, Kim, here. And if you'd like, you're welcome to share with us for a little bit, or just kind of sit and take a moment. We're going to bring everybody back, actually, I think. Now, if you don't mind, Laveda, go ahead and return them to their rooms, or to the main room. And I had forgotten to let
It says about 40 more seconds and they'll be.
Okay, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
You got it. Sorry about that, you guys.
No, I am just grateful you were doing this. It's been so smooth. You have been wonderful.
Thank you. So have you. You have me over here in tears.
Thank you, Laveda.
You're welcome.
Yes, I agree.
You got about 10 seconds, guys.
Wonderful.
Sorry, I didn't really know what we need to do.
You're great. Just come back on in here.
Oh, okay.
You are perfect. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And may I just say that I believe in synchronicities, and Joseph Campbell has been coming up so many times in my life, and I'm finding like, okay, I need to read him.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I too believe in synchronicities. All right. So is everybody back in the room then? Okay. So thank you all for your patience with this process. I think we're waiting on a few more people. If anyone got booted out of the room, they can get back in. But yes, we are learning and growing. This is the first year doing this online, and I am so grateful that we have these volunteer tech support. Laveda has been amazing, and I thank all of you for your patience, and Laveda for your bravery and willingness to try this and do this. I am just grateful.
Absolutely. Honored to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you are doing amazing. So here is a Joseph Campbell quote. It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Where you stumble, there lies your treasure. So anyone who felt like they were in a room alone, I'm gonna go ahead and anybody is welcome to, but if you feel like you kind of got cut off there, and unmute yourself and go ahead and answer this question. What are some treasures or elixirs that you have brought back from your own heroic journeys? And feel free to share that again in the chat box, and then, or unmute yourself and share aloud. Again, I'll just say I truly believe that one elixir you're all definitely bringing back is this gift of hope and inspiration. I see faith. I am strong and powerful, resilience, empowerment, efficacy, hope of recovery after addiction, self-love. Yes, yes, yes. Self-care is important and should be done daily. Self-care is not selfish. Yes. Please don't forget to thank you, and thank you, Laveda, for sharing the link for the presenter feedback. And if you guys get a chance to click on that and give me some feedback, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Kindness and gratitude. I am free to choose what is best for me. Yes, you are free to choose what is best for you. Ah, yes, yes, yes. All right. So a quick review. These are kind of the things we've covered. How our beliefs and perspectives are formed and how they shape our everyday lives. And with almost any belief we hold, there exists another viewpoint. So if it isn't serving us well, maybe look for a different perspective. We can change our beliefs and perspectives at any time. Learning and expanding our points of view offers us more opportunities in life. There are many different ways to view mental health from all around the world, and maybe if we can adapt, combine, mold together what works exactly perfectly for us, we can have more success in what works for each individual that we sit with as peers. And then lastly, that this hero and heroine's journey can be found within any of us and help redefine our recovery stories, as well as the peers we serve. Self-patience and awareness, gratitude. I have a voice. Woo, I love that one. I am not alone. All right. So I'm just going to open up if there's any questions or comments. Feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat.
Mandy again.
Hi.
Hi. So I went through quite a process. I was talking with my partner in the chat room about it, but I found my, it sounds a little bit similar to what you were talking about, but I dug into spirituality and found a spiritual community. And I mean, I'll just say that it's more metaphysical. But I found, like, I remember saying in a service to someone, I just really want to find God, and I was crying at the time, and I didn't even know the person, but I just felt like I can trust this person with that confidence, and I became so much a part of that community, and I felt so much love from people, and it was such a big part of my transformation. So.
Mandy, thank you so much for sharing. I think that spirituality piece and I don't, there's so many different ways to define that. I meet people who are spiritual from all different walks of life, different religions, non-religions, and what is it that works for you? But it's this connection for me. It just feels like some sort of connection to something more. And however you find it, I think that is just embrace that. And it is so important. And it's been a big part of my journey too. So we've got here, thank you all so much for the great feedback too. And okay, John, for many years I struggled with thinking I was always ill and I always going to be ill. I thought I was always going to be the patient or the recipient of services. Yeah. Caused me to feel stuck and like I was never going to get better. After much struggle with this, I arrived at the realization that I was just someone who lived with a condition that might cause me to be ill when, in fact, I was not ill the majority of the time. Ooh, yeah. The initial and subtle shift in my thinking led me down a path of having a much broader and more empowering view of what it means to live with mental health diagnoses. This empowering awareness helped me to move beyond the limiting views of diagnoses and helped me connect with a deep sense of my true identity and life purpose as an ambassador for healing and joy. You almost brought tears to my eyes. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. An ambassador for healing and joy. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. And we have Angela saying, Mandy, you're an amazing person. I can tell from the brief chat. I just wanted to share that with you. All of you, thank you for being here. There are different types of spirituality. For me, a personal relationship with the ruler of the universe rocks. I love that. Well said, John. Well said, all of you. Thank you. Thank you again for your vulnerability and sharing. And again, if you get a chance to fill out the feedback for me, I would so appreciate it. I will make sure these slideshows are accessible to all of you as well. And this last page is just the references I used. So if you do get this slideshow, you'll have access to all those YouTube videos and any other information that I kind of brought up in this. Also, I will be offering a workshop tomorrow. I hope to see some of you again. We're going to go a little bit more in depth into the neuroscience and neurophysiological aspects of how some of this stuff works and kind of rewiring our brain, that neuroplasticity. And so I hope I get to see you there. If not, feel free to connect with me on the app And also I have a Facebook page and group called Moon Love Rising. Feel free to find me there. And I'll have my email address up here as well, and reach out anytime. I'm so grateful to be here and be a part of this community and sit with all of you here today. Your life is a heroic tale waiting to unfold and be told. So reclaim the power of your story today. Thank you so much for coming to Transforming Our Stories to Empower Our Lives. Again, I'm Alyssa Arnold, and I am so grateful to be sitting with all of you today. You inspire me and help me grow, and it is a true blessing to be a part of this community. Something that felt like a lifelong curse has turned into the greatest gift in my life. So here is my contact information. moonloverising@protonmail.com is my email address. And if you want to join me on my Facebook page or private group, just send me a friend request on that group, Moon Love Rising. It's just a community of vastly kind of spiritual, just open-minded individuals celebrating life and talking about the hard things in life. And we will, in the near future, be having gatherings on Zoom just to get together and talk or sit and meditate, whatever we want to do that day. So thank you for being here. And again, if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out. And then, and Laveda, if you wouldn't mind posting that link again, just to the reviews for the workshop. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm just gonna leave us on this screen for a minute, but whenever you want, I wanted to make sure not to cut you short on time, so you get your breaks, because that's really important. This self-care, it's time to decompress in between classes. All of this is a lot to take in. Reach out for resources if things come up for you at all through the conference. Connect with other peers. And yeah, if you're on the app, please add me as a friend, and let's stay connected. And Laveda, again, thank you so much for being an amazing support and host in this session.
Absolutely.
And all of you.
It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you again, all of you, for your honesty, transparency, and vulnerability. You are incredibly strong and brave individuals. Peer movement is a force to be reckoned with.
Preach. All right. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Yes. Bye, you guys.
Bye.